We continue to go issue by issue and candidate by candidate in the race for New York City mayor. The final issue, per se, is President Trump. Mr. Trump's cuts to Medicaid and food benefit programs could end up blowing a hole in the city budget and impacting New Yorkers. Let's begin with Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist who President Trump antagonistically calls a communist. The two have already clashed since Mamdani won the Democratic nomination, with President Trump questioning Mamdani's citizenship. And Mamdani, by the way, has lived here since he was 7 years old. He was naturalized in 2018. Mamdani has promised to block ICE agents at every turn from carrying out deportations in the city. But in a weird twist, we have seen a fair number of supporters of President Trump also back Mamdani, because like Trump in 2024, Mamdani's been focused on a message of affordability. Governor Cuomo argues that he has the experience to deal with President Trump due to his high-profile battles during the COVID pandemic and also winning several legal challenges against the first Trump administration while governor. Cuomo says he would organize civic and protest groups against what he calls the chaos that President Trump is intentionally trying to create with federal law enforcement. However, Cuomo has been tied to several of the wealthy donors who have also supported President Trump in the past. Mayor Eric Adams has for some time been walking a tightrope as it relates to President Trump. They've had an increasingly cozy relationship, including several meetings, and he's praised the president ever since the Trump administration moved to dismiss his corruption case. The mayor allegedly traded favors with Turkish officials and committed campaign finance fraud. Mayor Adams denies this and an alleged quid pro quo with President Trump, where he offered to help with priorities, including immigration enforcement, in exchange for his charges being dropped. Finally, Mayor Adams has several times now been slow to sue the Trump administration over funding cuts and been slow to criticize policies that may harm the city. Curtis Sliwa is, of course, in the same party as President Trump. Sliwa says he respects President Trump and is not afraid to say when he both agrees and disagrees with him. He has been supportive of President Trump's immigration enforcement effort, and President Trump has not endorsed Mr. Sliwa. Finally, Jim Walden, really leaning on his legal background and how he would approach President Trump. He says he would form a quote-unquote New York City Freedoms Task Force, a team of 50 elite attorneys focused on pushing back against President Trump and suing the Trump administration with proactive legal action. Walden makes the argument that Zohran Mamdani makes New York City more of a target in the eyes of President Trump, giving him an excuse to get more aggressive on deportation efforts, funding cuts, and so on. Joining me once again is J.C. Polanco, attorney, political analyst, and assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent. J.C., let's start with a point that Mr. Walden likes to make, and that is that Mr. Mamdani makes New York City a target. We have already seen an increase in rhetoric from President Trump, the communism comments, the implication that he's not a citizen. Does Walden have a point here, and is that even fair to Mr. Mamdani?
Well, he clearly has a point. New York City will be a target. Well, most progressive cities across the country are targets for President Trump. I mean, we're never less distracted by coming after progressive cities. But I think that that's a point that Mr. Walden makes that just really helps out Assemblyman Mamdani, because I think that when you think about New York voters want nothing else but to go get a fight with President Trump, and they want to have someone that's able to fight back, and someone that would be a target may not be the worst thing for them in a campaign.
So it's an attack disguised as a campaign ad.
I think so. The worst thing, Henry, would be an endorsement. Could you imagine? President Trump says, I think I could work with.
Well, he's done that in the past. If memory serves, he like in a tongue-in-cheek way endorsed, was it Goldman or Mondaire Jones in a congressional race a couple of years back?
Yeah, but that was more.
It was clearly, it was clearly him messing with the field.
Yeah,
but,
that was President Trump trying to put his finger on the scale.
So brass tacks here. Who is best positioned to deal with President Trump? Is it Mr. Mamdani, who said he wouldn't play ball at all? Is it Mr. Cuomo with the experience? Is it Mr. Adams with this sort of, moderate relationship where he agrees and disagrees with him? I mean, what's the best tactic? Who's the best candidate right now?
Well, clearly President Trump respects strength. I've seen that. I've seen that in my time studying him. I've never was a supporter of the president and his campaigns, but watching him, he respects strength. And the person I think who has demonstrated that strength in the past has been Governor Cuomo. I don't think anyone would argue that, because we've seen it. We've seen it during the COVID crisis, hands-on. So I don't know whether or not we have, time will tell of whether Assemblyman Mamdani will be able to. I don't think that the right approach representing the most important city in the country is to say that you're not going to work with President Trump at all. I think that's definitely not the way to go. And clearly, Mayor Adams has demonstrated he has a good working relationship with the president. The question for Mayor Adams will be, as far as Democrats in the city go, have they lost confidence in Mayor Adams's working relationship with the president? Is it more now of, I need you, President Trump? Or is it more like, I'll go toe-to-toe with you when necessary? And from Democrats that I've spoken to, remember, I'm an independent, so when I speak to the Democrats, they tell me no, they don't trust whether or not President Trump can go and face off against Mayor Adams.
If I may, do they point to that moment on Fox News where he was sitting on the couch with Mr. Homan? Because that seems to have been a pretty kiss of death moment for
That was
the mayor.
it. That was it. And you know, we have seen, look, I was a big fan of Mayor Adams, and we have seen Mayor Adams be that mayor swag, mayor tough, former cop. I mean, and to see that moment when Honan said that to him really devastated a lot of us. So, and a lot of Democrats that supported him cite that. But he does have a record of being able to go toe-to-toe. Maybe on a second term, he would be that independent streak, since you can't bring those charges back anyway.
I mean, not too long ago, you just had the Secretary of Homeland Security and Mr. Homan back in town saying, you know, all this sanctuary city stuff, including the shooting, the very unfortunate shooting of the Border Patrol agent not too long ago, was the fault of Mayor Adams, which is not a fair criticism.
Not at all.
Because Mayor Adams has been one of the few willing to say he'd like to modify sanctuary policy.
Yep.
But that almost, from this political perspective, boosts him in that, like, you know, he's not purely in the pocket.
That helped him out a great deal. Absolutely. You know, to the earlier question, Henry, I found really interesting. Zohran Mamdani said he's not going to work with ICE at all. That means that they're going to flood the zone.
And, but they're doing that already, right?
They're doing it. Could you imagine having a mayor say, we're not working with you at all?
Even on like federal gang busts, for example.
No. That's going to be a major problem, and it's going to be really tough on those hardworking undocumented immigrants that are here in New York City, that are part of our families, that are part of our culture, that really make New York City a vibrant place. For them to live under that terror, it will be tough. So I would really caution Zohran Mamdani, if he does get elected, to not work with ICE at all. I mean, that would be a big mistake.